Hello and welcome! In today's video, I will show you how to paint this easy winter scene with watercolors. So let's get started. I'm going to start by mixing my background sky color. I'm using Winsor Blue mixed with Moonglow, but you can use any version of blue or grayish blue that you prefer. Once I have it the color and consistency that I like, I start adding it to the top of my paper. My paper is nice and dry, and I'm just going back and forth in streaks. I'm starting more intense at the top, then as I go down, I start to add a little bit more water to get it less concentrated and lighter as it gets towards the bottom. Once I'm down here to about 2/3 the way down, I use mostly a damp brush with hardly any pigment on it, and I just bring that wet paint down to the bottom, nice and light. It's still wet, and I notice that it's a little bit light at the top, so I'm going to mix a little bit more of my dark toned blue color and just add it to the top there. By the way, the paper I'm using is from Bauhung. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. It's a economical brand that I found on Amazon, and it's on a block, and it seems to be okay for certain types of projects. Simple ones like these, it's fine. For anything more professional, I would recommend a higher quality watercolor paper. But like I said, for this type of project, any kind of paper you have on hand would work probably just fine. I'm going to tilt the paper a little bit just to get a little bit more of a flow of pigment from the top to the bottom. I will say if you're looking to do a very smooth wash, you are probably better off using a higher quality paper, but I don't mind the variation in the sky colors on this one for this project. It's fine. Now the paper is still slightly damp, but it's mostly dry, and I'm just using my detail brush to add in these fir tree shapes. I find the easiest way to get it more realistic is to do one side at a time, like this, and then at the end I kind of draw a line down the middle for the trunk. And once we soften the edges, it's not going to matter so much anyway. Just want to make it look a little bit dimensional, not completely filled in all the way. Leave a little white space, makes it look a little bit more realistic. Now I'm using my larger brush, get it wet, and I dip it into that same sky blue color, and I drag it right across the paper, making sure to touch the bottom edge of that tree so that the wet paint from the tree starts to blend into that hillside. If it seems your tree started to dry too quickly, like mine did, you can touch some more pigment to the bottom of the tree where it meets that wet area, and that will help with a more soft blending and transition. So as I explained, this is where I go in and I add a little bit more of that dark color, and I make sure it touches that wet hill area so it all blends more smoothly. The paper's dry, and I'm going to start the next tree, and I'm going to make it a little bigger because it's a little closer. I'm also going to make it a little darker since it's closer. I added a little bit of purple to my palette just to vary the hues on the painting. I like the purple, and I just wanted to do something different. Here I'm realizing that I didn't make the tree big enough, so no big deal. I'm just adding more branches towards the bottom to make it look larger than the other tree. And just like before, I loaded up my wet brush with the pigment. This one has more of that same purple color in it. And I'm just going to drag it right across the bottom of that tree so it blends right into that hill. I'm rinsing and blotting my brush a little bit. Then I'm just going to bring that same color all the way down and fade it out. I'm making sure to take it all the way to the bottom edge of the paper so there's no harsh lines. Just want it all to be very smooth. The paper is dry again, and I'm adding a little quinacridone violet, a little bit more of a pink in this purple for this final and closer tree. Again, I am making it darker and larger than the other two to make it look like it is closer. once again, using that same color watered down to drag it right across the bottom of that tree and let it blend into that hillside. And now drag my mostly clean damp brush right across that wet paint, bring it all the way down to the bottom. The tree had started to dry a little bit on the bottom before I painted the hill over it, so I'm just adding a little bit more pigment there to let it blend in more to the hill. Now I'm getting ready to use my white gouache, but I have one step to do before that, and that is to clean off my brush and carefully drag it across the entire painting. Now here's where I test out the gouache. I wanted to try it on slightly damp paper, and then I made a fairly big mistake in filming this. Decided that the paper was too wet for the snowy gouache effect, so I stopped filming, and then I did not turn it back on until I realized I'd already done most of the work. So to show you what I can't show you on this one, I'm showing you on this cardinal that I did recently that will be for another upcoming tutorial to show you how I did it. It's pretty much just tapping the gouache onto the mostly dry paper and filling in a little bit of extra snowy dots where needed. It's not too complicated, but I didn't want to leave this piece out of the tutorial, so there you go. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more watercolor tips and tutorial videos. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and also let me know what else you would like to learn from me. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time. Bye.